on the blue side, also not ideal, right? You really want to be winning when you've got the much better side selection. Overall, just a fantastic win for FPX. Yeah, with so many impactful picks off of the board right here. Hopefully we get to see something a little bit different. Let's see some changes.
I expect this to be a Vars ban. These are like 3 classic red side bans if you're FPX, so they'll take away like a lot of premier B1 picks. Alistar, Sion, and Talia, but the Nico that has been rising in ban priority sneaks through, so that was going to be picked up for On, which I was going to say basically means Kalista is likely to be grabbed by BLG on the switch, but FPX continuing to kind of match the vibe that BLG throws their way. Do they just turn for Renata Kalista here?
I mean, why not at this point? I think giving over the Kalista Nico gives you such good engages. The way that Nico can engage with a Pop Blossom, flash in, and then get yoinked back out by the Kalista, it's way too strong. They do indeed just grab that Renata as well. That's going to stop BLG from being able to play a full dive composition as effectively. That doesn't necessarily mean they won't pick it. Xin Zhao would certainly indicate that they still just want to go for this heavy fight and skirmish orientated composition.
And there are 80 carries that can work with Nico in that bottom lane as well. I wouldn't say Ezra was the one that immediately comes to mind, but that is an Elk special. That's an Elk comfort pick. So an unlikely bottom lane duo comes across for BLG, and FPX will pick up another Shadow special champion. We were rolling the clips earlier, giving this guy the praise he deserved, and in all those clips he was playing Sejuani and he was playing Pantheon, and guess what, folks? Those were 2 wins for FPX.
Indeed. Pantheon right here works really well alongside the Kalista for a very aggressive kind of composition. At the same time, if you ever get jumped by this aggressive comp from BLG, that's where the Renata really shines. You can pop that hostile takeover, slow things down, and then go for the re-engage straight afterwards. Right now, though, we are still going to need some top laners and some mid laners. See what those are going to be, because we're losing a lot of the best top laners at the moment. The Rumble and the Gwen were the best of the best. And now, with the Jace taken off of the board, we're really beginning to look at these tankier options up in the top lane. The Casantes, Ambessas, Orns, those kind of champions.
I like these bans, though, from BLG, knowing Care's profile as liking to land on some of these, like, melee brawlers in the mid lane. The Silas, even with the Alistar ban down, is a respect ban towards Care, and the Ahri as well. So, clear targets of this second phase bans. Bin loses some of his champions, so does Care. But FPX try to mold their comp into something less one-dimensional, and they'll lock the Yorick in. So now you have that global ultimate with the Pantheon to try and support an aggressive bottom lane, and maybe buy space for a Yorick that's all about playing solo.
Let's see how FPX play this one out. I don't want to be watching the teamfight Yorick for the most part. We want to see the Yorick off in the side lanes, mauling through towers. You've got yourself a pretty strong 4v1 kind of composition. Now, this is one of the ways you can try deal with the Yorick, is by just making it miserable to play him in the lane and just be a better split pusher if you can get those early kills. If the Yorick begins to fall behind, do it. Do it, Bin.
Please,
this would be a great way to redeem yourself. He's not
Can't tease us twice.
There's no way.
Fiora,
it's much more
LPL Fiora. All right.
It's Bin's Renekton, though. Bin Renekton. We see that all the time.
It's not as fun. But it's probably the better. It's probably the better choice. I'm just
very much
being mopey about it.
A better choice here, because you just want to be playing your 5v4s better, and Renekton can also go match the Yorick during laning phase. You don't have to worry too much about it right here. You can see a couple of different styles being hovered for Care. Does he want to go more aggressive and try to actually kill onto Knight, maybe make Elk uncomfortable, or does he just want a little bit more of a standard front-to-back orientated champion? I think that the Azir makes a lot of sense, because now you're looking to be playing in a lot of 5v4s. You very much want to have champions that can buy you space. The Kalista helping out the Renata already does that, but the fact that you can then also either pull people in if you want to go for a team fight, or push them away with that Emperor's Divide gives you a lot of flexibility.
I think that last point you made is the most important. The ability with the Emperor's Divide to kind of say, whoa, way back up, or shove a Pop Blossom out of grabbing a multiple of your members. So buying space is going to be important for Care, and he was, by all accounts, a big piece of that Game 1 win. Jwei deserved the player of the game for how he played that Rel, but his positioning Care on that Yone was very, very crucial for that FPX Game 1 win, as they look to make history in the LPL. It has been so long since FPX has been able to compete against BLG in a series format. And right now, they are on the precipice of handing an 0-2 sweep to them to shake up the group ascend standings more, expand the circle of suck more Bloxer. But BLG, they are not going to go quietly. And you best bet they are angry not to get swept out by an FPX roster.
Absolutely, and they've got themselves the sort of composition that can really work. A ton of damage, some good engage, and the main thing for me, the Pop Blossom right here. It's better, of course, alongside the Callista, but still, it's one of those ultimates that can completely change the landscape of a fight, especially if it's in one of those 5v4 situations, as you are expecting it to be. Such a strong pick in the laning phase as well. We'll see how the spot lane ends up shaping out. Are Assume and Jwei going to be able to get themselves ahead, as a Callista lane often wants to do?
And of all the teams that are all about early game dominance, to do that into BLG makes it a little bit harder, knowing how their big-time carries like to play out through the early game with leads. Elk, Knight, and Bin, players that have been regarded as the best the world has to offer in their roles at one point, need to muster the strength to bring this series back for BLG. As we're live onto the Rift, soaking in the Gyos and maybe looking to see that aggressive bottom lane. Bloxer pointed out, already hunting. Slow going to land there. Assume going to start stacking up those spears. Gets the Ren slow, but they have to be pretty careful not to get wrapped here. Ondo will not start the Tangle Barb. It's just some early damage wins here right now, but a win nonetheless for FPX.
Absolutely, and this is what you want to be doing right here on the Callista. Any Callista lane, really, you want to be getting as aggressive as possible. Into the Nico Ezreal, there's quite a lot of poke that you have to be careful about. Jwei hitting as many of those handshakes is going to make this 2v2 a lot more playable. I think once you hit that level 6, that's where you can specifically look to go very aggressive. But already, we can see some decent levels of trading. Both of the junglers are going to be starting towards the top side of the map. They recognize that the bottom lane is going to be where it's at.
Will they be able to get down here before fireworks start coming? I don't think so. We've already both traded heal for speed ups and HP gains, but the winner is going to be Elk and On as they get control of that first wave and should be able to cruise towards level 2 first. And that's going to make Assume's lane a lot harder for these next early levels.
Yeah, you can see it right here. Assume Jwei, they're just going to have to back off for a little bit. You really can't afford to step up and get mauled once those level 2s are hit. And yeah, it's not going to be too bad. You know, you can catch this wave. It's not like you're in a range v melee matchup right here. Shadow going to be spotted out by that ward that, as you pointed out in the last game, everybody's been placing recently. It's very surprising to step up to your chickens and not get immediately spotted at this point.
The dichotomy of bottom lane is non-existent, but for top lane, it's very prevalent. This matchup is really going to swing a lot depending on how much space Bin's able to get in the early phase and how much Sheer can buy time for the Maiden and company, as Shadow has set up his own little spy operation as he watches his own blue buff get taken. Knight has first from over Care. Can hop over with the blast cone. Wade dashing forward. Maybe just to push Shadow off of his blue buff. Shadow flashes forward, tries to secure it, but it's Knight that is able to grab it for Way. A lot of damage buffer there by Shadow. They have the bailout if they need it. Care dashes as well. Flashes galore, but Elk finds first blood onto Assume, and he's going to make it a double up. Elk and On, the difference right now for BLG, and Care can't even find a straggling hope of a kill. Just like that, 3-0. Feats of warfare to Bilibili Gaming.
Oh, BLG, they find exactly the fight that you want to. This is why you pick yourself the Xin Zhao. So much early skirmishing power, so much aggression as well. And honestly, everybody right there from BLG involved in that fight did their part. Care, I was really surprised to see him jump over the wall here.
Let's get a replay back there.
Why does
Blue buff secured.
What does he see that makes him go for this play? Because you're...
Oh.
I really don't know why Care decides to go over the wall. I love that Elk jumps forwards with such aggression right here. And Care's never with the rest of his team. Yeah, he does a little bit of damage, but you're at level 3. Azir, barely able to do enough damage to almost get that kill. Doesn't even manage to complete that one. Like you said, Warfare immediately going over, and that's going to put some extra priority onto these towers. Sheer has Shadow in the area. Bin needs to be careful. Oh, bot lane.
Oh my god, but bot lane, Assume has the bailout, but who's there to bail him out? Nobody. Elk gets another kill in. This bottom lane goes from bad to worse. And we're talking about the Kalista Renata lane in the early game.
Well, I mean, if you jump forwards the whole time, this is a little bit of over-aggression at this point from FPX's bot lane. They had a really solid game previously. They've been a solid bot lane for FPX since they've started their turnaround in the split. But right now, things not looking ideal. The thing is, though, right, the thing you have to keep in mind during these early stages of the game is that this FPX composition is built around buying enough time for the Yorick to go absorb towers. You have to be in a good enough spot to be able to buy time and not just instantly lose in the 5v4, or even worse, lose in the 4v4 and be able to just have been sat top lane dealing with Sheer. That's a big problem. But that's what they're playing around. So this early game going wrong, not ideal, but they do still have hope for the future.
It does kind of double compound the issue that of a Kalista Renata falling behind, that this is likely going to cut down a lot of the space Sheer can have to push further for those turrets like you're talking about if they're having to play further back. And we're talking about Sheer, and he just walks into a free pick.
No.
BLG are unrelenting. This is the Bilibili Gaming, a split one that we thought could contend for the LPL title.
This is a BLG who just went back to the green room, shook themselves off and said, no, we're better than this. We should not be losing out in this situation. And so far, so good. 5 kills, like you said, and they're going to be up by a decent chunk of gold at this point in the game as well. Just over 2k. BLG also going to be able to grab themselves up these grubs, and this really sucks for FPX. Yes, you get the Drake on the backside, but who cares? You've got a Yorick. Yorick and grubs is a combo made in heaven.
I mean, Sheer can't even get his ghouls up. He can't even get to his turret. Elk is so dangerous right now with 2 long swords, and he's hitting every single Mystic shot. It's like he's got aimbot. Sheer does take over level 6, so he gets the main to at least buy him some space, but Jwei says time to close that gap. Great Tangle Barb from On, and Elk is quietly now 4-0 on an Ezreal that is going to hit like a truck.
So this is about as bad as it can possibly be in the early game. 4-0-1 for Elk already. He's already got nearly 300 gold shutdown sat on top of his head. And the fact that you're not even able to step up to your minion wave right there as Sheer really sucks. And this is the thing, right, with the Pantheon jungle. It's good in the skirmishes, but you kind of need that level 6 to really be able to pop off. We've seen a lot of these Pantheons kind of need to wait. Hang on.
Ooh, here we go. A little bit of a Shuriman shuffle. The alley-oop into the dunk. Bricks off the rim for Shadow. Knight survives and doesn't even burn his flash.
Now, unfortunately, there just was not another one of those spears available to Shadow. And now, Jwei gonna sit in the wings. Shadow doesn't know he's here.
Yeah, Crescent Guard for the knockback. Like that style point. Shadow does have flash, so he's alive, but definitely terrified of going into his own jungle.
Needs to be careful in this situation. Now we can see things going on up towards the top side of the map. We've been loving some dives. They were all bot lane dives previously. Assume. I don't know if you want to be here, buddy.
I mean, just look at the difference in items if this does break out how we think it's going to. They've also got Jwei not too far away. He is on top of the Krugs. And Hulk even sniffs this out, hits the Q. They're playing around the Grand Starfall. Shadow is waiting to churn that ultimate. Assume jumps forward. Watch the Pantheon flying at some point, or maybe he doesn't. He says, this is a lost cause. The Fate's Call does come down from Assume. He throws Jwei towards Elk, but they don't get towards that Ezreal. It does leave Jwei to his own devices, but there's just not enough of a pack behind the punch right now for FPX. And with the Realm Warp in from Knight, the even odds are completely obliterated. Another win for BLG. 8 kills in 8 minutes for him.
This is the unfortunate thing about having the Pantheon ulti, but Arise on the other team. Just able to immediately arrive, and Knight did so much damage in the brief moment he had to interact in that fight. Can also just teleport back into the middle lane, so doesn't even lose out onto any CS for making that play. This is terrible. The only member who's behind in gold right now is your top laner. On is ahead of Assume and Care and Sheer and Shadow in gold. That is a terrible start to the game.
This is almost this is unsalvageable at this point, and it's partly because FPX have drafted themselves into a spot where you cannot afford to be this weak in skirmishes early.
You needed to win early on. They have done the exact opposite of that. And there's not even really anything to really break down in this fight. They just take a fight when they're down in gold and items and don't even have a numbers advantage. So there's no way you're going to win it in the first place.
They are just getting taxed on everything. Shadow can't even farm his own jungle. He's never gotten that blue buff all game long. The spot that started the downfall rears its ugly head once more. 9th kill. Jwei with ease grabs that one.
Okay. At this point in the game, right, things are seeming very, very over. Yeah, you good, buddy? Yeah, okay. Every time I see a BLG and FPX member on the same screen, I'm immediately worried for their continued existence on the Rift. Jwei proving that to me right now as he takes a huge chunk of damage.
This is a 10-minute Trinity Force, Bloxer. This is a 10-minute Trinity Force! Damage off the charts. Maybe not... Maybe that doesn't even define Elk's damage right now.
Usually, what I would say at this point is, so what's the ways for FPX to get back into this game? And we will talk about that, sure. But the other thing I'd like to talk about right here is how quick do you think this game ends? Do you think this is a less than 20-minute game?
I think this is definitely a contender for quickest game in the LPL, and I think it's poetic because we casted the longest game of the LPL already.
Yes.
Bloxer, so we have to even out the odds, right?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. I love seeing both sides of the spectrum. What was that, 57 minutes that game was? That was crazy.
55?
55, yeah.
Something towards the high 50s almost, yeah.
Absolutely insane. As you can see, every single time any member right here of BLG steps up, just chunk people through. And that's not even with your strongest member. Elk isn't even here right now. He was busy taking a tower up in the top lane. Gonna attempt for the snipe. Assume it does step up, so it's not gonna be the kill there. We've got a Drake spawning in a couple of seconds' time. FPX at least were able to grab the first one of those. They lost out onto all 6 of the grubs, and I don't know that they're going to be able to step up for this upcoming Hextech Drake.
We got info coming in from our prized LPL English information team. The longest game that we did see, the NIP Top Esports Game 2, was 54 minutes. 54, the shortest game was also already given to FPX. They are the losers of the shortest game, I'm pretty certain, up against Top Esports. 23-29 is going to be pretty hard to beat, Bloxer.
Yeah, it's very funny that NIP and Top keep showing up in these games where there's just stuff going on back and forth, back and forth. Let's see if this is going to be one of those. 10-1 right now. I mean, they're so far ahead in this game. 6:02 with a fully completed Trinity Force this early on into the game means that you just can't step to these waves. You can't put yourself near your opposition. It's a 2,400 gold lead in bot lane.
So, Bloxer, was this what it was like watching the Super Bowl as a casual fan?
Yep. Pretty much, although with the added joy of watching the Chiefs lose. I don't know, I'm not feeling as much joy watching FPX get dismantled here.
It's a little different. That's a good adage, but I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to say. It's a 6.5K gold lead. The thing to take home from this is we always talk about with a lot of these teams right now in Group Ascent in the Rumble stage in general that this format really displays floor and ceilings for teams super well. And I feel like already in this series we might have seen the floor and now the ceiling of BLG, and that's why so many people just want this team to work, want this team to find their form again, because they look so dominant when it all clicks.
Part of the problem, it feels like, for BLG is that they can't help themselves when it comes to compounding upon whatever's happening. So if they start losing, they keep losing. But if they start winning, that's when you really see the quality of this team begin to show. And at the moment, you can see it right here. They're just rotating across the map so well to put Elk in every lane that he can just bully as much as possible. Top lane is going to go for a little bit of a fight.
All right, so this is not just a fight with Sheer. It's a fight with the Maiden, set of ghouls. And it's still
just dead. Oh no!
It's enough to at least not have Sheer die. But if Sheer is not, if Sheer's not winning that heavily with the maximum overdrive of Yorick's kit, you know you're in a bad spot.
Very much so. But I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by that one at the moment. We're going to have another minute 40 until the Herald up and available. 2 and a bit until the Drake. For now, it's just going to be the bullying of BLG. They can just go in here.
Assume and Jwei are really trying to make this work, and
Wei.
they actually do have Wei kind of caught. There's the Emperor's Divide, throws Wei back into his own team, but he does fall. Shadow flashing out to safety. Knight going to try and chase him down, but not going to be able to through the 2 turrets.
Okay,
So we finally get a trade of kills, and that is, folks, a win for FPX.
Just about, but it is now going to turn into this mid lane tier 1 getting at least massively chunked. The next wave
Yeah, now it's
a little bit slow. Yeah, does have the TP if you wanted to maybe move up towards the top side. Nah, just going to lose this one out. And yeah, this is the unfortunate thing when you're this far behind. It takes so long to be able to pick up your kills, and you don't even manage to kill onto the most important member to get down. It just means you lose out on the rest. Care now needs to be careful. He's got both Knight and Elk here.
Does have flash. There's the
Odd
Pop
even.
Blossom, though.
Yes.
Oh, perfect follow flash.
Nice.
Own read scare like a book.
Yep,
Gets
easy.
another kill for BLG, and it's
Oh,
more turrets
Shadow, don't
time
step up
with
here.
6 grubs.
I'm slightly worried for Shadow. If he had stepped up a little bit quicker there, I wonder if Elk might have just turned around and one-tapped him too. So very strong. I love watching the Nico play. Just sneaking through, right? Getting into these positions. And the Pop Blossom, it's so difficult to get away. Yes, you're usually trying to hit it as a 5-man ulti during a big team fight, but in a specific 1-on-1, 2-on-1 situation, it's almost impossible to avoid. This was slightly better. The hostile takeover specifically out of Jwei is the reason that this is almost playable for FPX, but they still end up losing Assume off of the Knight flash forward.
Not going to be able to get away with just a trade most of the time up against BLG, but Jwei, hello, handshaking and verbally agreeing to his own death warrant. Bailout down, Assume to fall once more. Karis teleport just a little bit too late to the party. The Sand Soldiers will find its mark on Jwei. But Knight is here, and most importantly, Elk is here on an Ezreal that is so inflated it would blow your mind, and he just auto-attacks down the last 2 straggling members of FPX for another multi-kill.
Gonna be an ace right here. Just 16 minutes into this game. You can see the look on the faces right here of the members of FPX. They know this one is pretty dang over at this point. Elk even using those 6 grub Void Mites to be able to step up to that tower without the mini wave. Little tech like that. So nice to see. 8-0-2 now. And immune. Trinity Force. At the point at which Elk arrives, it's over. Now, we'll see what ends up happening here.
Oh,
Sheer
sweet
wants to teleport. Could not have even slightly done that in this point. I don't even know if Sheer arriving in that fight particularly helps. You know, this Yorick isn't particularly strong at the moment either. Bin uses those dashes to perfection as well. We were talking about how Bin needed to step up. He's playing much, much better in this game, but this game very much isn't about the Crocodile.
This game is about BLG finding their form together and having fun again on the Rift. Not making it so difficult to find the wins that they've been known to get with ease in past, and it's plays like this that have made BLG so feared in the LPL as it just rinse and repeat, sending these guys to the gray screen as quickly as possible.
And Grey Screen Simulator, very much the name of the game here for FPX. I guess one good thing you could say is it's not a perfect game. They've had a couple kills. They managed to get themselves a Drake. It is also at least not a situation where an FF would have been faster, you know. They have at least taken 18 minutes off of the clock. I think we'll go over 20 minutes. I don't know this is going to be a less than 20-minute game, but this is complete and utter domination. This is BLG speedrunning, getting us to a game number 3. That is very exciting for a matchup with so many implications for the standings.
Really trying to shake up that middle of the pack as Shadow dives into the middle of BLG. Crescent Guard going to block a lot of damage. Hostile takeover again from Jwei is pretty good, but the important member is untouched and free hitting. It's Elk, and he does not look like a deer in the headlights this game. He looks like a man with a mission, and that mission could be claiming the quickest game of 2025 in the LPL. With Grubs and with Care and Shadow only up, they might try for it right now. They got the middle inhibitor down. They pivot towards top side, and they won't go for that award just yet, but they still got time.
They still got 4 full minutes, 4.5 minutes at this point to be able to complete this game, and it feels pretty likely Elk just going to go for this play right here. They're even able to move away from the Emperor's Divide. This is just a disaster.
They do lose Bin, and Elk has a low health bar, despite how many items he does have. Oh, lethal tempo. Finds that shutdown for Care. Quicker reset for Elk. Cost him 1,000 gold.
And Knight just nicks away that red buff to end things out. Jwei also potentially under threat right here. think he's gonna be okay. He's gonna step down, right? He's not gonna walk up into that bush, surely.
Surely, right?
Oh.
Bloxer, what have you done? Bye-bye, Jwei. Oh, the limp away bailout. We have pushed way over the 1 kill per minute for BLG.
Oh, yeah. Exceptionally bloody game at this point. Usually when we say 1 kill a minute, we're referring to combined rather than per team. BLG really just are on such an accelerated path into this one. 20 minutes have now ticked over. There is an Atakan available if you want to go for it for BLG. But at the same time, they've managed to take themselves down this mid lane inhibitor. They're very likely to want to just end this game off as quickly as they possibly can. I'd be very surprised if they need to wait another 5 minutes for the Baron to spawn. If things are stalled out that long, maybe FPX are able to get themselves back into it. They do have a mainly early game composition, but at the same time, Care is getting to the point where he hurts.
Bloxer, your hope is so sweet to hear, but it is so misguided, it feels like, in this one.
Hey.
Well, we're here at Atakan regardless, but I just think this is going to be the fight that might end the game. There's a lot of traps being set in those brushes. Nico pretty good at sniffing him out. Knight is going to be the one to face check, and hey, they do get to Knight. Goes into the stasis, though. Does have the flash. Going to try and buy some space. The Seraphs, will it save Knight long enough? No! Assume gets the first kill. Wei's the next one to get hopped on. Flashes with the Crescent Guard. Will his turret protect him? He tries to dash back in. He's buying a lot of time. The turret is starting to really ramp up. And Elk is able to trade back the 1 kill onto Sheer.
Look at that base.
And FPX have bigger things to answer for, like that base and maybe the toy croc that's trying to crack them all one on the flank. But BLG are not going to try and chase and overexert themselves, so FPX do get a couple more shutdowns.
This is good. This is them beginning to play their way back into this game. I mean, nice of them to show up 20 minutes in. But still, you take it. You don't even actually lose that inhibitor tower. Sorry, that Nexus tower right there. That will slowly tick back up. Actually, not the end of the world of a play. FPX, they are fighting. They're showing that maybe their fans should have a glimmer of hope left. As BLG, it's risky, right? You really don't want to begin to give these things over. And the fact that you get that massive shutdown there as well onto Elk in the previous play, then you're able to grab a couple more kills. Jwei has died half of the times of the FPX kills, right? He's been dying quite a lot so far in this game.
It won't hurt them just yet. They still have a ton of cushion. Gold lead is still almost 8,000. And while we won't get the quickest game of the LPL in 2025, Baron will force FPX to go all in or all out of this game too in about 2.5 minutes time. And no, it's not going to be Atakan that they're going to have to do that at. Please do not contest this Atakan, FPX.
Slayer, don't say 22 minutes later. Don't send us to a 40-minute game right here. It is going to be the Atakan started up by BLG. You do have members in the area, but not a lot of them. I think they're just going to concede this one. I think that's the right decision. There's no reason to step up right here. Part of why FPX have been able to claw their way back into this game just a little bit is because that inhibitor mid lane went down so early on. They've had these big minion waves pouring into their base constantly, very easy to farm as well. It's allowed them to get slightly closer into it, but only now we're going to see the Rift Herald popped, now looking to crack open the base in the top side of the map.
Hold on, though. Assume was going to back. He canceled it. So this is going to be a 1v2 that I don't think Bin signed up for. Assume's going to get to throw as many spears as he wants into it, but maybe Bin wants the 2v1. Can he heal enough through for Assume? No. 1 for 1, but look at the top side of the map right now. It is Grub again as Rift Herald brings down another inhibitor. So Bin's 2v1 death costs a whole lot of the FPX base.
Yeah, I mean, now you've got multiple avenues to walk in. Yes, the mid lane inhibitor is going to respawn in just a couple of seconds' time. Still not going to be the ideal situation to sit in for FPX. They're never going to be in an ideal situation again, right? Their base is always going to be incredibly vulnerable, but they're at least finding kills back. Not ideal that Sheer just dies. This is the thing, right, with these Yorick compositions. When it works, when you're able to get ahead and you can just leave that Yorick in the side lane, mauling towers, and you're still fine in the 4v5s or in the 4v4s, wonderful. But when you fall behind, this champion provides you so very little, especially with this kind of build where you've just got the Trinity Force at this point. There's very little you can actually do. Sheer is kind of just a little bit of extra help during these team fights. He cannot split push on his own.
There's no space to do so. You've lost a lot more of the map you can control on. Your own jungle is now something that can cause you a death if you're sheer, and wave states are never in your favor. So you have to take really small pockets and try and capitalize on them. But all it's really gotten them is one tier 2 turn in that bot side, but the bottom lane is the one target of BLG by this point, the last inhibitor standing, and with 6 grubs, with how strong Elk is on 3 items, why not go to knock it down? But Jwei, again, is the target of all of FPX's harassment. The Crescent Guard will buy him space for now as they try and throw Jwei at him. The hostile takeover is going to hit onto Elk, but not before he takes Assume away with him. Knight goes into the stasis at just the perfect time, and with no health bars aplenty, FPX have to back off, but they won't let them. Knight will not let them. He wants to bludgeon them with his golden left hand and his golden boy of an AD carry known as Elk. Just like that, the finishing touches have been put on BLG's most dominating game of Group Ascend to send us the distance in our matchup of Group Ascend.
That's it. We're going to get 3 games of this matchup. Hopefully the next one going to be a little bit closer. FPX, honestly, kind of dismantled BLG in game number 1. BLG, though, come back swinging in this game number 2. It's not the fastest, but it's dang close. 25-minute game. No Baron needed to be able to pick up that victory right there for BLG.
How fun is this going to be? The moniker of this matchup coming in was asking the question, how do FPX win this series? But also, how do FPX win a game up against BLG? We saw that in game 1, but we also saw why we were so hesitant to give this matchup over to FPX, say that they weren't the clear underdog. It's because when BLG are clicking, that is what happens. And that doesn't just happen to teams like FPX. That will happen to anybody in Group Ascend.
Absolutely. I still feel like BLG could take a game, a full series, a 2-0 kind of series up against someone like Top Esports. It's just not consistent, right? If you made them play each other 100 times, I feel like BLG would completely and utterly smash Top 5 or 6 of those times. But across the course of it all, you know, those are more consistent teams. There's a reason that those teams are currently sat at the top of Group Ascend right now. For the minute, though, going into this game number 3, I don't know how much you can really take away from game 2, right? I don't know how much you can go, this was the mistake, other than saying all of it was the mistake immediately.
Yeah, it fell flat from the jump, right?
Yeah.
You had a Kalista and out of lane that made a mistake and fell behind, and you needed that lane to index the rest of your success, picking scaling solo lanes or split push-oriented solo lanes. So putting the eggs all into one basket does not bode well when you drop the basket off the side of a ledge, and you saw that in game 1. But I'm glad, Bloxer, you made the point to say this doesn't really define FPX too much, because we already saw what they look like when they don't kneecap themselves in the first 4 minutes of a game.
Exactly. The kind of composition where you've got yourself a Yorick, the early game has to go well enough for you that the Yorick can get to a point where he's allowed to touch a tower. I don't know how much I actually saw Sheer look at towers at any point throughout that game. That's a horrible state to be in right here as a Yorick. So, hey, you kind of take that one, you boil it up, you throw it out the window, set on fire maybe on the way out, you know, ignore it. This one was bad. Moving on to the game number 3, we've got quite a lot of power picks off of the board. A lot of them went off of the board actually in game number 1. We've only got a few of these very top tier pickups left available. That could be we get some very interesting compositions in this game number 3.
And it will be the first time we get FPX on the blue side. They got wins on red. They take a loss on red. And we talked a lot about how Shadow is the focal point of a lot of their drafts, to at least try to set up the rest of FPX. We did see a lot of jungle bans come across in this one, especially from the red side. So that will be something to keep an eye on as we do roll through the traditional post-game graphics to see that Elk earned himself player of the game by the widest margin, and it's not close.
No. I mean, he was dominant in that one. He gets caught out once. It was a little bit of an unfortunate moment, but from the very beginning stages, the second that you get Trinity Force at, what was it, like 8 minutes into this game?
8 minutes, I think? Yeah.
So early on into this game. From that moment on, was just able to keep rolling through. Didn't die until almost 20 minutes in as well. Was just so much confidence stepping up. And you can see, landing the vast majority of these skill shots. Always great to see an Ezreal who's just feeling himself. Really looking good on the champion. There were moments, there were attempted fightbacks out of FPX. It was all way too late though. And the kind of composition they had into the Xin Zhao, you really need these early Grand Starfalls to work out from your Pantheon, and Shadow just wasn't able to find it. It was good responses out of Knight as well, to use the Realm Warp to get involved too, make sure there weren't any numbers disadvantages for BLG in any of these fights, and it was just these keys to success that just kept working out.
Awesome to see, though, for Elk to show why he might just be the best Ezreal player in the world in this one. And for all the conversations we had about who are the pinnacle players right now through Group Ascend, we've talked a lot about junglers today, especially Bloxer, but in a league, obviously, with guys like Jackie Love, Elk has always been in those conversations, routinely, threatening that role as the premier AD carry player, especially alongside Pays. I feel like we have a three-headed monster of top marksman players, and Elk, it's been a while since he's gotten to show why he's in those conversations, but a game like this on his Ezreal maybe woke up some of those sleeping giants.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like right now, in the current state of the LPL, the ADCs are absolutely cracked, right? You mentioned a lot of those top ones, and I'm very much in agreement with you there. But then, hey, I think Hope's been looking great throughout this split so far. He's been popping off, really stepping up. Taeyoon has been a big part of why WE's been able to play well. I'm not saying he's necessarily in the conversation for top ADC at the moment, but he's really been looking better and better. Seems to be really maturing as a player at the moment. It's such a great position to be in, where there's just so many great ADCs that you kind of don't know where to look.
Yeah, and you didn't even get to mention Gala, who at one point, early on in Group Ascend, was listed as the first team AD carry with the most player of the games under his belt. 1xN, even for Thunder Talks Woes, is a very hot commodity when it comes to marksman. There is not a marksman problem in the LPL, is what we're gathering and taking away from this one, is to sing that riddle home. Oh, it does not go to Elk.
Respect.
Okay, so that is back-to-back support player of the games.
And I'm happy with that one, right? Once again, the ADC takes all of the flowers, but the thing that's setting you up right here is very much on. He had an incredible performance on this Nico. There's a reason we've been seeing the Nico hit the ban table in increasing levels of frequency. This champion's so strong in the laning phase. It's so strong during these team fights, and a brilliant performance from On to take it home.
On looking strong, like you mentioned, Bloxer, BLG flexing their muscles and smacking down FunPlus Phoenix. But they get a chance to bring themselves back up, dust themselves back off, and look to win the series. We're going the